Hello and welcome to the Four Piece Podcast. I have had great guests on this show. I mean, wonderful guests on this show. They come from all over the world. Most of them, if not all of them, have become my friend in some way, shape, or form. This guest right here is very special to me. I'm going to tell you why he's special to me, because before I even met the guy, or even knew that I could meet the guy. Let's put it this way. I used to play his movie in my marketing classes. He is an integral part of the P.T. Barnum story. It's actually the show. The movie is actually called The Greatest Showman. You can see it. It's streamed now on Disney Plus here in the United States and other different streaming platforms. Has Hugh Jackman in it, Zac Efron, and many other stars in the movie. He plays Tom Thumb. He is Sam Humphreys. The thing is when I first played this movie, I played it for the marketing aspects, P.T. Barnum, and now I'm going into history, and I don't want to get like that. But P.T. Barnum was probably the father of modern marketing, if you want me to be honest with you. He did some great things, and he was probably one of the greatest risk takers of his time, and probably one of the greatest risk takers of all time, because of what he did in the business world. So when I had my entrepreneur class, when I had my marketing class, I'd always play this show because it showed a man who really went out and took risk. But you know what? One of the people that were in the show, Sam, took major risk. Remember, he is not from the United States of America. He is originally from New Zealand, went to Australia, then came to the United States at a very young age. He did this all on his own. And he did this despite his health issues. He wanted to succeed in spite of. And that, is more admirable than anything P.T. Barnum could have ever done in his life, in true life. And so when we come back, we will have my dear friend. He's an inspiration. We will have Sam Humphreys right after this.
The battle doesn't always end when the service does. For many veterans, the transition to civilian life is a journey of resilience, struggle, and hope. In Stories of Veterans, from military to civilian life, real men and women share their personal journeys, overcoming challenges, finding purpose, and creating new beginnings. Honor their stories, understand their journey. Stories of Veterans from military to civilian life, available now at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books.
Welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. When I first came out and we went from audio to video audio, I said that, you're going to have to see my ugly face, but I am going to make sure that I have fantastic guests that make up for my ugliness. And today I have a fantastic individual. We met briefly before this podcast interview. We've chatted in detail. I admire this individual. And if you have seen in the United States, if you've seen the movie The Greatest Showman, you will find out that you know this person already. Sam Humphrey, he played Tom Thumb in that movie with Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, and just a wealth of talent. It was a great movie, and especially the premise behind it and all that. It was a fantastic movie of hope, and it was a fantastic movie, as a businessman. It was a fantastic movie of marketing, to be honest with you. Sam, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor to meet you as well.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I absolutely appreciate that. Sam, one thing that I absolutely... Oh, first of all, I want to ask, how is everything going now in Los Angeles? I know you're out there right now. It's been a bad couple of weeks. How is everything going out there?
Yeah, well, hopefully we're now getting back on our feet after the devastations of the fires. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding that needs to happen. LA and California in general has already been going through like a bit of a shake-up with the entertainment industry, which has been like one of the core industries that happens here in LA and California. After being hit by COVID and the strikes and then getting hit by the fires, we're in this whole stage of the last like 5 years of just rebuilding the industry. So hopefully, we can get back on our feet and the industry will come back to California and we'll see jobs and productions and all types of, entertainment projects happening here in California. But yeah.
One thing I have to say about you, Sam, is that you are the type of individual that it doesn't matter what challenges are in front of you, it's not going to stop you. And I know you were born in New Zealand. A lot of places on the internet call you an Australian actor.
Yeah.
I want it straight from the person's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
What do you claim?
I am Kiwi. I'm born and raised in New Zealand. Although I did move to Australia when I was about 14, 15, I am a native Kiwi, and Australia loves me so much because of Greatest Showman that they've claimed me. But I'm always standing true to my native heritage of New Zealand, and I'm a true-born Kiwi, All Blacks fan. All of that culture of New Zealand. It's a beautiful country, and I miss it a lot.
I will say this. I am a big sports fan. And if you listen to this podcast, I love hockey. I play hockey and everything else like that. My favorite athlete in the world is from New Zealand. Tell me if you know who this person is. It's her name, Portia Woodman. Have you ever heard of her?
The name sounds vaguely familiar. I mean, I'm not like a huge sports fan myself. I just know in New Zealand, we have our famous All Blacks rugby team, at least when I was growing up. I don't really know them now, but definitely when I was growing up, I definitely was all behind the rugby team.
Portia Woodman, you need to pull her up on YouTube. I had my sons pull her up on YouTube. She is an absolute and I'm saying this in the greatest sense of the word as far as sports are concerned, she is a beast. I would not want to be on the rugby field with her. I know that she would absolutely destroy me. I love watching her. I love watching her highlights. I wish I would have known who she was beforehand. I actually caught her because of the Olympics this past year, and now I'm like, I'm headed towards Australia and New Zealand here in March, and I'm like, you know what? When I go, I gotta catch a game, and she retired. She probably knew I was coming, and that's what happened. But yeah, she's a good.
Just quickly duck out of the sports industry when she knows you're coming.
Absolutely, right when I knew when she. That's my luck as a sports fan, anyway. Sam. One thing I do admire about you, and based on the conversation, we talked for quite a long time. And one thing that I do admire about you is you are, and I'm not saying this in a way, of showing your age, but you are literally 1 year younger, or I'm sorry, 1 year older than my oldest child. And I listen to you, and when I hear your story and I hear your experience, you have done so many things. Like I said, you're talking, or like you said, you were talking about, the strikes and the fires and COVID and all these things that are affecting your industry. And if it's anybody else, I mean, and I've not known you for a long time, I would be kind of concerned that, this person may not be able to make it. However, with you, it's not even that type of concern. It's like, what I'm sitting there thinking is I wonder how he's going to find a way to make it, but I know you're going to make it in the long run. Your story,
absolutely.
Thank you. Your story. First, we're going to talk a little bit about your history, but your story and your strength and your perseverance is just, I mean, it's beautiful, and it's a story that everybody needs to hear. I know that you entertain so many people, and you've entertained my children through your movies. You were also, before you came over here, like you said, you were in Australia for a while. You were on a show called Neighbors. Can you tell us a little bit about that show?
Yeah. So I played a financial whiz kid who was coming in to take over a hotel. I basically landed that from doing a documentary series with one of my childhood friends growing up. she helped me to get this documentary series up and running. And I did a mock audition for my documentary for Neighbours. And it wasn't really supposed to go anywhere. But they loved my mock audition so much that they actually decided to bring me onto the show. So it turns out that mock audition was a real audition. And so they didn't have a character for me at the time, but they decided to create one. And so they created this character, and I was only on there for a short period of time before Greatest Showman came knocking.
Wow. So now you have a couple of great, and again, I don't want to say breaks because you've created your destiny, but you've had some good things happen to you along the way. As a young person, so you come to the United States of America. How did that transition? I mean, now you're literally going to the other side of the world. What made you come like this is going to happen?
Well, so growing up, I always wanted to be an actor, and that goal started it really started when I was 8, but, the spark of wanting to be an actor, which was a childhood fantasy, I guess, started when I was 5. But so wanting to be an actor, watching TV and films when you're growing up, it's always shown that Hollywood is the place to be, and it's so glamorized on television. And so if you want to be an actor, you have to come to America. You have to come to Hollywood, to LA. That's the land of, actors and entertainers. So, I studied acting growing up in high school and education and all that stuff. I started doing acting in Australia, and then after Neighbours, I got Greatest Showman, and then I came over to the US to do Greatest Showman, and then I went back home. And then I came back over for the premiere at the end of 2017. And my plans were not to initially stay in the US, because I wanted to go back home, kind of figure out like a business plan. But, life happens when you're busy making plans. So that didn't exactly happen. When I got here, I got an agent, and things started to sort of snowball from there. I landed a massive project after that. And so I ended up staying here in the US and seeing what just kind of snowballed from that. And next thing I know, 8 years later, I'm still here.
Wow. That's a great story. You went from, usually when you hear stories of actors, you hear of these actors who started out in like television commercials or something like that. There are a lot of actors that just like I'm trying to think, and it's funny. I just like the guy that Tim Allen. That way he started out doing commercials, and now here he is, doing large production films and stuff. You went from the United States, you came straight here. You go to one of the best movies of 2017 right off the bat. Now, granted, there were dues that you had to pay. That is the truth. But you go in. The show is now still a very popular movie on Disney Plus and other streaming venues, if that's the right word. But you went out and did all of these things right off the bat. You really did hit. You were a rookie, so to speak. Speaking of sports, because as I am, you were a rookie. Went straight to the Super Bowl.
Okay? Yeah. With that, honestly, it's an actor's dream to come from like nowhere, like New Zealand in terms of the world, world stage. New Zealand is a country that gets kind of left out a lot of the time. But being, a Kiwi coming from over there all the way over to, the US and being plunged, so to speak, from my words, saying plunged into the deep end. I came over here, I did this film, and I was plunged into the deep end with being on set with Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson. These are 5 of the top, A-list talent in the world. And I, honestly, still to this day, I have a little bit of imposter syndrome just because I'm who am I, or who was I to be put into the deep end with such phenomenal talent? I'm just so blown away and grateful that like anyone, especially at the studio levels, and that kind of talent saw the potential in me to bring out the character amongst them. And I'm very grateful that they gave me a shot and gave me a chance to do what I love to do.
Well, I will say it's not too hard to see the potential in you. I
Thank
will
you.
say that right now, and I'm saying that not only as a person who watched the show, watched the movie, and since knowing you, have actually spent the weekend watching other stuff that you've done. But one thing I do have to say is that one of my favorite lines in The Greatest Showman. Because I guess it's because that's probably something I would have said to the Queen of England if I ever had that shot. You they the line that the Queen Victoria said to Tom Thumb was, "Well, you're not that tall," and your reply was just awesome. The reply that you're not too. What was it? I mean.
You're not you're not exactly reaching the top shelf yourself, sweetheart.
That was hilarious, and it's funny because I like looking at history, and from what I've read about Queen Victoria, it's like if that really did happen in real life, I wonder if that would have been the same response. But it was
Mm.
actually a great response, and I love the movie.
One of
Um,
my favorite lines of the film.
it's absolutely my favorite line of the movie. So you do these things, you come in, you're top of your game, and we should say that everybody lived happily ever after. But in your case, it was a good chance that that might have been the last movie of your life. That might
Yeah.
have been the pinnacle. Can you share with the audience what happened shortly after this professional success?
Yeah, so, after coming off one of the biggest highs of my life, feeling like it was going to be smooth sailing forever, it did not quite happen that way. So I have been diagnosed with Crohn since I was a teenager. And after coming off Greatest Showman, I actually ended up going through one of the darkest periods of my life, where I had a huge flare-up and explosion with my Crohn's disease, and I ended up getting admitted to hospital. I ended up needing 2 life-saving surgeries, otherwise I would have died. And the nation, and not only the nation, but the world, they were very concerned that I was gonna die, because I was undergoing, very high-risk surgery, and if anything went wrong, I was gone.
Mm. Um, you've recovered quite a bit,
Mm.
clearly.
Yeah, it was a very long road, and I feel like sometimes when you go on those long roads of recovery, that's when you really start to discover who you are and discover the will that's inside yourself to be able to get back on your feet. To be able to know that you can get through anything. And now when I face challenges, I look back at, what I've overcome, and I think, well, these are nothing compared to, being on death's doorstep and having to
Right.
spend, a year and a half trying to just survive each and every day, to wake up being like, am I even going to make it through today? So,
And for somebody who is I had a brief oopsie with mortality, just a couple months ago, about a year ago. Um, what I want to know is and I said mine was brief. I mean,
mm,
but yours was pretty elongated.
mm.
Um, what goes through your mind when you hit that type of high? Like here you are going to party with Hugh Jackman, and
Mm.
then that type of low, here you are contemplating, am I going to see tomorrow?
I mean, the thing that kind of goes through your mind is one, you're grateful for all the experiences that you have had,
Wow.
and then I think it kind of humbles you. Um, and I mean, not to choke my own ego because I never want to do that, but I think that's when a lot of people say like, I come across very humble. It's because I think the contrast of being on top of the world, so to speak, and then, being brought back down to such a low where you're not even sure if you're going to make it through the next day, is where you start to discover what's really important. And it's not like, I mean, the parties and the glitz and the glamour and all that is amazing. Like, I would do that all over again. But you start to realize that just having life is such an important thing. And every day that you get to wake up and, have the day to do the things that you aspire to do and that you dream to do, and hopefully it's to make a good impact on humanity, then we should be grateful to God for giving us life, because every single day, thousands of people don't get that opportunity to wake up. So.
You are absolutely right. My other question to you would be, you know, what do you plan on? Obviously you have a new lease on life. Okay. Um, have you decided? And I know you've always wanted to be an actor. You're still an actor.
Mm.
Has your trajectory has it changed in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I mean, going forward, over the last several years, I've kind of been in and out with acting a little bit, just because of how the industry has kind of been changing here, in California. But I just recently did another film last year, which actually reignited my passion for acting. But also, I rediscovered my faith in Christianity, and that's kind of given me a new spark in life too. Whereas all the things that I want to do, I want to have a faith-based message and a faith-based vision and goal to it, and so my trajectory is, speaking, is to write, is to do projects that can spread the good news of, faith.
Absolutely. I will be in Los Angeles in April, and I think I owe you a cup of coffee, if
Absolutely.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And I will say this: if there's a rugby game anywhere in that area, Southern California, during the time I'm there, I would like to go. And you know what? Because I don't know the sport that well. Okay, whatever you do know of it, you can teach me.
I don't know if they do rugby over here. I think it's more NFL, and
Yeah.
to be honest, I know nothing about NFL. So, I mean, I don't really watch sports these days. It's kind of the only reason I ever watched sports back then was because like my home team, and I had a little bit of a bet going on with one of my teachers because I knew that my team was always going to win. So.
There you go. See, so you fixed it, didn't you? That's what you did. You just
Oh,
fixed
absolutely. I guarantee that my team would win.
it. There you go.
They're
Well,
the best of the best.
I'm from Buffalo, New York, so I can't always guarantee that. I wish I could, but that's all right. But I will say that it is a pleasure talking to you. I know that you and I will be working together again
Mm.
very, very, very soon. And like I said, from the very first time you and I had a conversation, I've just been impressed. Yes, you are my podcast guest, but I would like to, I like to consider you a friend.
Absolutely.
You did again, and I totally admire the strength and how you do not care. You really don't. You don't care about the challenge. You'll take it,
Mm.
and that's one thing that's how winners are made for sure. And that's one
I
thing.
mean, like I've been a fighter since day one, so I only inside of me I'm built to fight. I only know how to fight, and I'll keep fighting until my last breath. But I don't fight, alone. Like I fight with, God and with Jesus on my side. So that's very important to me. So apart from him, I can do nothing, and that's why I always maintain my close relationship with him.
Absolutely. And you do have speaking about that, you do have a brand Yeah, can you tell us
Yes.
everybody? Can you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, so my brand that I've been developing over the last few years is called The Little Guy, and it's about standing up for the little guys, which, in a sense means, the underdogs. We're all underdogs. We all have a cause or something that we care very passionately about. I'm also rebranding it a little bit to be more of a faith-based brand. Because, that's something that's very important to me and that I'm very passionate about. And so going forward, that will be slightly rebranded towards a faith-based message.
Well, I'll tell you, your brand may be called the little guy, but I am looking at a giant. I am looking at
No,
a
thank
pure
you.
giant for sure. We will be right back right after this. And Sam, again, thank you so much for being on the show. I will say this, and I think I said it before, because you are on this show right now, my kids will probably start watching now, and I appreciate that. So now they're going to
Awesome.
listen to our podcast. It's all because of you. It has nothing to do with me, for sure. I know. Thank you
Oh,
so much, Sam. Thank you for being on the program.
thank you so much. It was such a pleasure and honor to be here.
There is no loss greater, no pain deeper than that of losing a child. In stories of children lost, from the ones who love them most, parents share their journeys through heartbreak, healing, and remembrance. These are not just stories of loss, but of love that never fades, memories that never die, and strength that carries us forward. For those who grieve, for those who remember, for those who seek understanding, this book is for you. Now available at Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and anywhere you buy books. Find comfort in shared stories.
Welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. And I usually say, I hope you enjoyed this interview. I know you enjoyed that interview. There's no doubt that you did. What he did as a young individual, a lot of people sit there and talk so bad about, oh, this next generation is soft. Nothing this man does is soft. Like I said at the end of our interview, he is a giant. He is a very strong individual. And you know what? He does not take no for an answer. And what I mean by he doesn't take no for an answer, a lot of times you hear you can't. He doesn't want to hear that nonsense. He will, and he does. And he does it all the way. He does it to the point to where I am inspired by him. And he is actually going to be writing the foreword of a new book that we have coming out. A part of the 4P series. It's actually an expanded edition of the 4Ps of You, and he is in that book. He's in that book for many reasons, but he is also in that book because, again, he is an inspiration. He is the epitome of the 4Ps. He has got a purpose. He's got a plan. He's got tons of passion. And clearly, what you heard from his story, he has got an enormous amount of persistence. He's a very strong person. And I'm going to tell you right now, again, he is also proof positive that this next generation is a very strong generation. It is a great generation. And to be honest with you, that's going to be the generation that's going to be taking care of me in the nursing home. So I am glad that we have a good generation coming up taking care of us. Again, Sam Humphrey, great show. We will be back next week, and we're going to be back talking to, actually, we're going to be back this week, and we're going to be talking to Dr. Angela Bennett again. Now, she is inspiring as well, but she also has an accent from she is actually from Australia as well. She's been on this show before, and she's going to be talking about an up and coming conference that is coming up that they actually had the privilege to invite me. I guess that they felt sorry for me. I don't know what it is, but I'm glad I'm going to be a part of it. But yes, Dr. Angela Bennett will be on the show talking about the up and coming conference in Australia. It'll be in Sydney, Australia. It's going to be on March 28th in Australia, Sydney, Australia. Please make sure you're there. We will have some registration information in this podcast. We will also have registration information in the podcast coming with Angela, and that will be here in the next couple days. We have a great night. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. We will see you very soon. Bye-bye.